the Umbrella Corporation. Our business is life itself. This podcast episode is brought to you by nothing.
Try it for free.
So here we are with Gabie Ruiz.
Yes.
Once again for a Valentine's edition of the Elucidate podcast.
And happy Valentine's to you.
Happy
and your
Valentine's
family
Day to
as
you.
well.
And happy Valentine's Day to Walmart with all of the things that they're selling for Valentine's Day. And all of the corporate sponsors involved in Valentine's Day holiday.
Yeah. Let's congratulate them on their excellent work in coercing us into thinking this day.
Yeah, I was thinking on my way, I went to the coffee shop this morning and I was thinking on my way home about that stores should just have a conveyor aisle where they could just turn a crank and then like the Valentine's Day thing comes up and they turn another crank and the St. Patrick's Day thing comes up and they just turn another crank. That way they don't have to keep like restocking it.
Yeah.
It'd just be this big like aisle and just like, just turn. And then when Christmas comes around, they can just do it like that.
Oh,
so you
it
think
looks so sterile, those holidays that way though.
Yeah. Do you think the Valentine's is bullshit or what?
You know what? It is, but like there's a little addiction there that we have. And I say this because I had been single for a long time, like about 10 years-ish. And anytime that Valentine's Day would come around, I think I would turn into a hater. She's like, oh, this love everywhere, God.
Yeah.
But then, give me someone to love. And now I'm like, oh, Valentine's Day. I get caught up in the hype.
Yeah.
But it's funny because I had thought about today posting something to that effect that, don't allow yourself to get pulled into this idea that something special has to happen on Valentine's Day,
Are you single now? You say you were single? Or
I am not single. I'm in a relationship.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
How's that going? Is
It's a learning experience.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
it's unfamiliar to me. I'm not one to be in a relationship. So it's truly an experiment. God bless.
Really?
My
You're
love.
not one to be in a relationship?
I have a hard time with it because I have a really low tolerance for bullshit.
Oh, really?
Really low tolerance, and I'm not patient. So whenever, when you're with someone really closely, spend a lot of time together, you're bound to come into contact with your own ego and the ego of the other person. And that's just more stuff you got to deal with, besides what you want to do in your day. So that's why I say it's an interesting experiment, but it's been rewarding. I've learned a lot about myself, which is why I think relationships are good for people.
What's the most successful relationship you've had to date?
This one that I've
Really?
been in. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Why do you think that is? Because you're more experienced? Because you...
Yeah, I think that I would like to think that every relationship you have is better than the former, and I can honestly go back and create this timeline of, okay, what did I learn from this person, that's made the next one, feel even better. I would say I'm at the pinnacle of relationships. It's been that important for me. But I think it does come from experience. But something that I notice about myself is that you have to be on guard. You have to be ready to catch those little feelings and be able to quickly process them and say, is this my fault? Is that his fault?
Oh, what do you mean those little feelings? Like what?
I can't think of a good example. Here's a really silly one. So there was one day whenever I was walking out, Willie and I were going to my Zumba class together, and we were walking out to the car, and he had observed that it was a cold day. I didn't bring my jacket. Well, you got to get your jacket. And I was like, you know what? It's too late. I'm just going to trudge on through the day without it. And then finally I realized, well, wait a minute, it's really cold. And he made the comment, he's like, well, see, sometimes you just got to be smart. And I remember thinking, but I am smart. And I could feel like this, like those black and white horror movies where you've got like the scary guy that comes off in the shadow in the corner. I could totally sense that coming out. And I had to stop and be like, yeah, okay. I had to stroke myself. Gabie, you're smart.
Wait, what were you going to do? If you didn't put that in check, what were you going to do?
I probably would have tossed something right back.
Really?
As some counterpoint of some sort to like, I'm going to go make you feel bad about yourself so that way nobody has to look at my dumbness of not wearing a jacket on a cold morning.
Yeah.
And that's nature. And I think that's probably the greatest challenge to relationships is it's very easy to go meet someone late at night on the weekend and have this romantic interlude and then walk away with no responsibility.
So what would you have said?
What would I have said on the weekend of the interlude?
No, I'm just saying, like, you would have been like, you don't have to say it, never mind.
Okay, so let's just institute right now this new little, we'll call this a safe word process. When you ask a question and I take my tea to my mouth and drink, that means I'm not going to answer it.
Okay.
So we'll call it truth or tea.
Truth or tea?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to be drinking this tea the whole time.
You need a straw.
I'm going to be like...
But you know what? Real relationships, it's beautiful.
Yeah, this tea is so
because
good.
You have always been a very private person. You've always kind of kept stuff to yourself. But you are not private about your theories about love in general.
I'm not private. I like to be private, like anyone, about the things that I want to be private about. You know. And
you like to be private about a lot of things, though.
Yeah, well, it's more for. I do it more for, self-protection and protection of my loved ones, and I don't know which one is more than that, or to spare you. like
you don't want to tell me the truth.
No, like, what does it matter? Like, what does these things matter about me? You know, this is what you need to know. This is what you need to know. This is what I'm going to tell you. You know, and other than that, it's like. I'm very hesitant. I wasn't always like this, of course, but I'm very hesitant about sharing ideas that I haven't finished yet. Like, because I don't know if it's right or not.
So why can't we just have a working theory? You know, I have a blog that I keep just for my own self, and I call it Working Theories. Working theories, because I put on there conclusions that I make based on a certain experience that has stuck with me. And I am very careful to say it's a working theory. So everything that I say is always a working theory.
Most things are.
Which is why I have such compassion for Hillary Clinton, you know.
You do?
She changes her mind.
Oh.
No, you like I'm kind of half kidding.
You like her?
I'm kind of half kidding. I respect her.
Really? Why do you respect her?
I respect her because...
I think she's a corrupt politician.
She is, but it takes a lot of balls.
She is, but...
It takes a lot of balls to be able to manage that level of intense... energy with the kind of jobs that she's had, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I understand that, but I don't respect it. Like, in the sense of that everybody else respects it. I respect her as a person, as a human, and I'm sure that her job, like, if I met her, I would be like, oh, damn, like, wow, you are really a special kind of a person. To do what you do. But it's kind of an illusion because it's a celebrated position and she can't do what I do. Like, she can't be, I'm in a special position too because she can't do what I do.
And
like,
I guess that's why I respect her, because I could never do what she does. You know,
what
take a lot of fire. She takes a lot of fire, and you know, and it's granted, but it's still, you know, like, how do you respond and still keep it together, you know? Like, I'm such an emotional person. I'd break down and cry, or I would get infuriatingly angry.
You don't think she does that? You don't think she does that?
I think she's relatively reserved.
Right? In the bathroom stall?
Well, I'm pretty sure.
She's got like a handful of toilet paper in one hand, and she's like got her phone in the other hand. She's like...
She might, but I mean, you would never know by looking at her, you know? And I guess that's kind of...
Sorry, I have a cold.
Goes back. That just goes back to the whole, you know, always learning thing, where you start to care less and less about the facade. after a while.
About the facade of in relationships?
Presenting, who you really are and who you are. I think a little over time, I've been okay with being a passionate person and getting really having broad ranges of emotion, sadness or when I am, just on an emotional high of joy. I don't feel like I have to apologize for it anymore. It's just who I am.
So you used to feel like you used to have to apologize for that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Whenever, and the people around you,
I have to remember not to snort in the microphone. I'm like,
the people around you kind of like make it harder not to, like my best friend, Devlon, she has this thing about like, don't let anyone see you cry, you know? Yeah. She's tough. And
whatever. She's the one. She's the one in the bathroom.
She takes it in
with a clump of hen.
And you know what? She'd probably need to be healthy. But so of course she, anytime I cry over some wonderful thing I see or some Hallmark commercial or whatever, and she just kind of laughs, at me. And after a while, I just think, I'm not gonna stop. I'm not gonna halt my feelings. I'm just gonna do it. Say it.
Well, people don't cry enough. There's no.
I agree.
There is no like you were talking about the broad range of emotions. They're not allowed.
Right.
In the society that we live in, anyway. Mm-hmm. And you're allowed a very narrow range of emotions, and most of it is like happy, awesome, ecstatic, to like mildly melancholy. But you're not really allowed depression. That's a deviation. Right. And then you become a type of person that wears all black or whatever, or anything else, all the nuances in relationships,
Which is why laughter yoga is so
laughter
healing.
Yoga.
Have you ever had one of those sessions?
No.
Where you sit down, who else talks about this as meditation tool is Osho as well, where you say, lie on your back. And you just start to laugh, and it'll be fake at first, but then pretty soon it will turn into something authentic. And there's been a session that I did when my teacher Shri was teaching, and I remember exploding into tears, crying. And it started with fake laughing, and it turned into this real thing. And then you start laughing because other people were laughing, and they sounded funny when they were laughing, and it just boom, explosion of.
Gabie, I saw somebody like that on the corner one day, but they were homeless.
Ooh, they're probably more healed than the others who.
If I ever go crazy, there was a homeless man that I saw on Stockton Street, and he was just laughing and laughing. That's how I want to go crazy. I don't want to be the guy that's yelling profanities, walking on the street.
Right.
Why when people go crazy, why does it have to be in a negative way all the time? I don't understand.
Well, if that's all they know, that's their way of processing,
Maybe. So
laughter yoga. It's good. You should try it.
I mean, I might. I probably won't though. Because it's just not. It doesn't sound like what Goliath would do. Like what my persona. No, I'm just kidding. It doesn't sound. No, it doesn't sound like something I would do. I would do it like if I had nothing to do and it was like Monday and I was like, oh, I did all my stuff that I need to do. Hey, Goliath, you want to go to laughter yoga? I'd be like, sure, let's go.
But you never just thought, I'm just going to do this as an experiment at home. Like that's what I've done. I'm going to see if this is true.
I'm telling you. Well, I don't want to talk too much about myself right now, but I'll tell you, I've done some pretty wild experiments at home in, let's say, like 2000 or 2001. And it was because of in large part because of Osho, because of his teachings. Because in his Book of Secrets, he gives you all of these things called sutras, where they're exercises, meditation exercises, and they're not sitting down, and they're not all laying down. And some of them are focusing on your eye movement. Some of them are focusing on the position of your tongue. Some of them are focusing on listening with your ears. So one that I did was I woke up. On my days off, if I was able to, I would wake up and do everything as slowly as possible. Ooh. And I'm talking about...
Like...
It was ridiculous.
How can you go to the bathroom slowly?
You got to walk slowly. You got to do everything slowly. So, of course, I couldn't keep that up all day. So I kept it up, who knows, like 2 hours.
That's pretty good.
You know, so...
my ADD couldn't do that.
So another one that I did was that as soon as I woke up the next morning, I knew the next day before I did these things, I knew that that's what I was going to do. Because of course you have to plan it because you're going to look like a madman. Yeah. So, so the next day it was talking, and you just don't stop talking. The whole time you're taking a shower, you don't stop talking. You're making something to eat, you don't stop talking. And you externalize your mind, and then I never realized how repetitive my mind was. Yeah. Until I did that. So basically the thoughts that you had in your head, you would just say them instead of thinking them? Or were you just coming up with anything first, whatever came out of my mind, whatever I was thinking about, that's what it was. Anything that's kind of come out of your mouth is your thoughts anyway, even if it's gibberish.
That's a great practice. That's a great. So imagine then, just kind of taking it back to the relationships, like you not being aware of all the voices in your head and not recognizing that, maybe I shouldn't say that, or what are the consequences of me saying that? Or is that even my thought?
So before you were walking with your betrothed. No, you were walking with your significant other.
Okay.
And then you were going to say, you stopped yourself from saying something
right
negative. So in the past you would have said something negative, right? And
I mean, if I was a kid, it's been a long time since I've had that feeling.
Okay, yeah. And so what did you learn from that? Like, did you learn anything from...
Well, that's just one of those examples where I learned that, like, I got a dark side, and it's easy to be ashamed. It's easy to be ashamed of it, but I think that's the beauty of relationships, is it? And I always tell Willie, my love, I always tell him, like, I know I'm a bitch on wheels, but I like who I am. I like who I am, because if you don't have that dark stuff, you don't get all the light stuff. They like mesh together really well. Yeah. But it's been, I think that's why talk about meditation, like me having to stop, think about what I want to say. How, and especially if there's some need that I need to share, then like, how do I say this in a way that's best for the both of us, And I think that's why it's been such a wonderful relationship, because I'm not the only one doing it now, Now it's someone else who gives just as much attention to words, And I'm kind of one of these that I'm like really high strung, and I'm always moving and high anxiety. Let's hurry up and get this done. And he is the complete opposite. He's chill. Like, even the tone of his voice, you just love being around him just off of his presence, So that's really wonderfully balancing, but we're both aware. Yeah. You can't have the one that's going to love you and be patient, and then have the other one say whatever they want to say. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. You have to have a common ground that you can communicate on. If you don't have that, if you don't have a place or something that connects you, I'm sorry. If you don't have understanding between each other, like fundamentally, like, hey, this is crazy. Can we talk about this? If the other person is not willing to look at things in a different way, then there's going to be a breakdown there.
Right. And you have to kind of look at these whenever you're getting feedback. And I'm not good at getting feedback. That's my true, honest, there's some things I don't want to know how annoyed you are at me, because then that means I'm not perfect. And then that means that I got to deal. And, sometimes people don't want to hear, they don't want to know, but, dang, where was I going with that?
Why were you saying about not being perfect, about being criticized?
Yeah, that is the, like, you have to be willing to, there it goes. Yeah. Here it comes. That whenever you receive feedback, you have to almost pretend like they're talking about somebody else, and you're the observer, listening to what they're saying about somebody else, so that you're not so quick to react, to stuff.
I don't have a problem with that, but maybe you have a bigger ego than me.
I do.
So the funny thing is, I've been accused throughout my life. No, let's say I can't speak. You would change this time. But let's say throughout the past 10 years, I've been accused of having a big ego. I have. What? Which is a weird thing, because I'm like, you have no idea like how little ego I have. It's like, and it's because of that I can compliment myself because I don't think it's a big deal, or I can say that I'm good at this or good at that, and I can be confident about it because I don't think it's a big deal.
Yeah. I think, there was this huge eye-opening statement. I can't remember where I heard from somewhere. But it says like if you have a problem with seeing yourself on Facebook, if you have a problem looking at a picture of yourself, then that reveals that you've got ego issues.
Well, I mean, it's too nuanced. Like there's too many sides to that. For example, let's say it's a picture of you and you're half blinking and then all of your peers are seeing that. Like who wants to see that? You know what I mean?
Like all those pictures people are tagged on usually.
Yeah. Photographs lie. And you need to pander, you need to cater to the lie. It's like, people are taking a picture. If you're taking a picture as a group at a party, you're taking a picture for reasons other than an artistic value. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like if you take your camera and you're taking pictures of a squirrel and this kind of thing, it's a different kind of photograph. The other one is a form of display. So photographs make me uncomfortable. Period. Any good photographer, I can spot a good photographer because they know they put the camera on me and my face changes and they could see it. And then they see that, and then they get away from me, and then next thing I know, they're trying to take my picture without me.
They're catching your authentic expression. Yeah,
I cannot. I can do this because there's motion involved, but if you're gonna catch a still image of me, I'm like,
yeah.
So anyhow, when I get criticized, it doesn't. I'm fine with it. Actually, I welcome it. I welcome criticism. Not too much.
But see, that's the one thing that I found just glorious about Willie and our relationship. He wants to hear it, And sometimes when I know he's not, he's in a mood.
Let me ask you something. Have you been surprised? Many people in spiritual circles, which I consider you to be in, kind of like yoga and homeopathy and whatever, for lack of a better word, spiritual circles. I noticed that there is ego in that. Okay, so and then people are surprised when they realize, oh my God, I'm way more pretentious than I thought that I was.
Right.
Like I actually want to be with this person because everybody else likes them, or whatever, or I want a Subaru. Or because what it says about me. Yeah.
But have you found like that's been a big thing, like churches, for instance, there's ego there, the person that is leading discussion, that is overseeing kind of the father of, an organization.
You're talking about a pastor?
Yeah. I mean, there are others, but that person has this ego and you think, but they're church people, they're religious people. You don't think about it, but yoga circles, teachers have ego, And,
I know. No, I don't.
But you would never think, you take it for granted.
I mean, you have to be egotistical in the first place to a degree.
Yep.
To be like, I'm going to teach you yoga. I'm going to teach you how to play guitar. I'm going to teach you how to write.
Yeah.
Because I know what I'm doing. And it's like when really a good teacher, a better teacher, of course, understands that I'm going to work through this with you. Because really it's indispensable, especially in our culture, in our current climate, it's indispensable to have somebody to take time with you for anything. I do rolfing with Derek Gill, which is a type of not a massage, but it's a manipulation of the body. And I noticed through doing that he could actually it could be somebody else and they could just be touching me in a focused way where that's what they're focusing on. And that makes a difference. Right
Yes. Yes. I see what you're saying.
Like the act of massage.
Just that attention. Yeah. Which is why I've read
so you have
that.
to pay people for that shit.
Right. Because I've read that you say go into a shiatsu machine to rub your neck, that it doesn't release the same chemicals as it would if you had like an actual human being touching you, which is why I have a wonderful experience with my massage therapist that I don't get if I were to say get a Groupon as a gift and go and visit this person. You know, I don't have that same experience because I truly love the person that's doing body work on me. And so I think you got to pay for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. So what do you think about Osho? For a lot of people who don't know, Osho is a philosopher and he's a controversial figure in the United States because people started a cult around him, but it's too complicated to pigeonhole Osho in this or that. You have to study the person and figure it out, and everybody's got something to say about it. But I've found that he is an exceptionally unique and insightful person, or has been, is, I guess. His work survives, you know. And I don't, even according to his teaching, but I don't idolize anybody as a guru, as the guru. I don't know. And he even acknowledges that you shouldn't do that. You know, a lot of the people who followed him, among them, were people like the people who followed Kumare. Are you aware of that movie,
No, I'm
Kumare?
not familiar.
Kumare is a movie about a guy who's of Pakistani or Indian descent, and he decided to become a fake guru. He looks like a guru. He grew his hair out and everything, and he changed the way he talks. He talks like us, but he started talking like this. You know,
and he really doesn't.
And he would just make stuff up, and he got a strong following, and people, tears in their eyes.
Wow. Kind of like some of these politicians that just decide as a joke to run for office and end up winning.
Like Hillary Clinton.
I didn't say that.
No, we got to talk more about that because I can't believe you like her.
No, I mean, I
she's
respect
fine.
her. I'm not voting for her, but I respect her.
Yeah, I respect her too for all that kind of stuff. But there's so many women out there that deserve more respect than she gets.
She gets a lot of face time where there's other women.
You know, I don't know. Maybe people like whatever. I can't pronounce her name right now. But anyway, I'm getting off topic. So Osho says, you know,
to be careful about choosing guru.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, so he is a person who's interesting and you should check him out. Now, what he has some controversial concepts of relationships, you know, and
can I tell you why? Like, he's been my a big teacher for that.
What?
First of all, I agree with this whole guru thing that you're saying, and so I like to call the people that I learn from thought collectives. So it's almost like a committee of people you go to, whether through books or listening to them or someone you learn from, say like a yoga teacher, like I have. But one of the few aspects that really turned me on, and I don't mean turn me on like sexually, I mean like just lit something up in a dark place I didn't know, was his idea of how you manage desire, as well as like he's not feeling the whole marriage thing. Those two ideas have been the most huge informants of how I look at relationships. And I've tested it. You know, it's not like I just believed it because he said. But whenever I've observed other people in relationships, I've been like, oh, that's exactly what he said. And so I've just kind of been collecting data, so to speak. And so, you know, he's got this ashram where you go to, you check in, and you basically are around other people. And if you feel
Other
like,
freaks.
wow, I'm really attracted to you, then you go and have your special moment. And if you feel like you want to do that with 20 people or one person, you just, you know, knock it out.
Yeah.
And, you know, his theory, and this is where you can tell
Then you go
me.
to the doctor, then you go to the clinic.
Which is why
Then you
everybody
go to
has
the
to
clinic, too.
sign basically an agreement or some, you know, disclosure, whatever, saying I'm clean because I'm going in here and infecting everybody otherwise.
I'm sure nobody lies.
Oh, yeah. Never. Because, you know, it's an ashram.
Yeah.
But like one of the things that I think is interesting
Wait, what is an ashram? Is that a harem?
No, it's like basically like a big meditation center where you go to get away. So anyway, one of the things, and here's where you can probably add more information, but my understanding is that he's basically saying that like whenever you have this thing that you get obsessed about, whether it be a certain sexual whatever, or a certain relationship whatever, or even just work, any place, food, that it's kind of like behavior modification, that you satiate it and then it resolves that obsession. Like you don't feel that need. Like if I have an obsession with McDonald's French fries, you eat them, eat them until you.
So you know what? I'll tell you what.
Get turned on by it.
From everybody I know, I probably know more about Osho than everybody I know, because I started reading him when I was like 21, 22. Okay, and I never put it down. And I watched his videos, and I used to check out his lectures from the library and cassette, and I would listen to them, and I didn't always know what the hell he was talking about, but I just kept trying to. Him, Anthony Robbins, Alan Watts, J. Krishnamurti, Deepak Chopra, anybody who took the time to talk about things that were not just bullshit, like even if they were wrong, even if they were attempting to study and understand this human condition better, right? But Osho, that works. That engrossing yourself in it and satiating that, it works sometimes for some things.
Well, because some things,
with other things, it will kill you. Like,
or you're totally overstepping your bounds, other people's boundaries,
Yeah, but I'm saying, like, let's say, for example, somebody has an obsession with smoking cigarettes, and we've all seen somebody who dies, a smoker, like 2 packs a day, whatever, and when did that satiation? It never stops,
right?
Or drinking,
right?
Somebody drinks themselves, or heroin, or whatever you want to call it.
Or let's say, there are men that have addiction to young girls, for instance. Like you can't ever satiate that. Because
young?
They're not going to be barely legal, let's say.
Well, it's
but
legal,
like you've got a whole bunch of people that are going to prevent that, and so you're always going to have to sit in that whatever desire.
Yeah. As a father, the age of a female that I can potentially be attracted to is higher.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, that's gross. It's legal. It's way above legal. It's 22. It's 23. But I'm just like, that's no.
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just like you're a kid.
But see, I've never. And do you think? I guess for women, maybe there's just natural, affinity for older men. I don't know.
There is, because I've had several like 18-year-olds hit on me, or 21 or 22, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, what am I going to do with you? Like before, when I was single, like just a few years ago, that was weird, but interesting, and it happens, like you said.
But were you playing your instruments?
Sometimes I was, sometimes I was not.
Because that, that does something.
It's like it's like I had a couple of stomping grounds. I had me playing. I learned many years ago to stay away from women who are attracted to me when I'm playing.
Yeah. Right.
For reasons I don't want to get into right now.
But let me kind of answer that for you as a woman who sat there and listened to you. Is that well, first of all, for you yourself, like, are you attracted to this feeling, or does it really have anything to do with me, And then secondly, like, is this feeling that you have right now is not a reality every day, day in, day out,
No, it's a reality that I'm a person who chose to make that, and I made you feel that. And there's no denying that, And that's why people love you, and that's why people love artists, because they make you feel something. And nobody who does that, like, you go to work every day, don't feel anything, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
That's why people love you. It's like you love somebody because of how they make you feel, not because of how they look or
Right.
How, unless it's some bullshit like superficial obsession.
Right.
You know, like it's like Maya Angelou said. She said, people will always forget what you said. They will forget what you did. You could include what you look like and whatever in there,
Right.
but they will always remember how they made you feel, how you made them feel.
Right. Right. Which is why I've never, like, the physical stuff has never been a part of my whole attraction experience.
Well, for females, it's a little bit different, a lot. I mean, it's different. Women are more flexible with their, they find adoration in more things than most men do.
Right. Right.
You know, but I want to go back to Osho, and you tell me about this ashram, right? And that I didn't even know that existed. You said that people go there and then they hook up.
Essentially,
like, yo, what's
that's
up?
what the people.
There's like a roulette of people. There's like
a.
there's like a one of those wheels that people merry-go-round of like women with just their legs out
That,
like this.
you know, that, see,
like,
that's what people hope
and you
to
just
see.
poke and poke and poke
it's
and
like,
poke.
you know, what is that cruise ship where it's just like anything goes cruise ship? I think that's how some people
those
look at
exist?
it.
Really?
Yeah, I've
Awesome.
heard. From what I've heard. But,
So-
you know, I think people look at it that way, but not everybody's going there for that reason.
So that kind of thing, I think sex, it's sex, right? That is related. That's what that is, right? Sexual sensuality, that kind of thing. That what is somebody to do with that experience? Like, what are they supposed to do? How are they supposed to talk about that with a future partner? Like, they're gonna, you know, is it their own secret? Is it their own thing? What are they gonna do about that? Like, how are they gonna be like, well, I went to this ashram and I fucked like 20 people in like 2 hours, and you want to hook up with me or what? You know?
Some use that to sell themselves, I guess. But I guess that's one of those things that you just keep to yourself, right?
Well, the thing is, it's like I think that sex as an act is overrated and kind of silly if there's nothing else involved with it. If there's nothing deeper involved with it.
Can I tell you a story about you?
Oh, yeah.
That was really, you are like one of my thought collective people in my life.
Oh, really?
And I don't know, you probably don't remember this, but anytime I would read anything and I would want to bounce the idea off of somebody, that's when I would usually email you or I'd chat with you, you know, one of your events. And I remember that was one of the topics of discussion, and you had said, and you know, and it was such an aha moment for me that I actually printed the email and I cut out the little paragraph and I hung it up in my bedroom to like remind me of this. And you had said, like, I don't have sex, you said. I don't have sex. That's the term that hasn't even begun to exist in the world until recently. You know, it was always love. And how you had said that, you know, people are trying to turn it into this big thing, kind of like how we've done with yoga, you know, you start having
Commercialize it.
booty belly dancing, ballet yoga, you start creating boot camp yoga, you start trying to make it more intense or whatever, because as if it wasn't enough by itself, you know.
Extreme yoga.
And that, you know, so now you've got all these people who are selling books, you know, with 1,000 ways to have sex. And, you know, as if that's gonna, you know, you check that off your list and it's gonna somehow satisfy you. And it really doesn't. It doesn't. And I remember, you know, I wish that I had kept it, because it's such a really good read, that little blurb that you had said. You know, people are contorting themselves to to try to make something sexy out of sex, you know? And the fact is that they're like losing the whole point of why it exists.
Well, like if you spend time in, let's say, a village in Guatemala or a village in Mexico or a village somewhere else, I don't know, wherever. And do you think, like, okay, there's no rules, there's no police, there's no judges, there's no organized religion? Do you think people are hanging around the whole time, like, just screwing each other?
Yeah, right.
You know,
right,
there's
they
other
don't.
things in life, and it's such a big thing in our society. It's on television, and there's ass in your face and boobs hanging out and whatever, and porn, and
And you know
for
what's
free.
funny? You know what's funny is that
For
so
free.
it's so sensationalized here that when we see it, we're shocked or intrigued. And then you go to some of these more
Italy?
gentler civilizations, where they aren't exposed to technology and all this stuff. The sex is seen as so normal there, And I forgot, there was one movie that was famous that had the Aboriginal culture represented, and there was like a kid that was masturbating, I think it was, and everybody just kind of shrugged it off like, oh, like it was funny. Whereas here we'd be like, call the police. Oh my gosh,
Well, call the police. Oh, that kid is never going to masturbate again. That kid's going to have a complex.
But I mean, let's look at the two different societies. Like, who is the one that has to deal with like the child molesters of the world? The ones who are obsessed with teenage girl, that kind of stuff. You start kind of warping things whenever it's not seen as like.
Well,
this is normal.
it's very confusing when you're telling your society. The media is a teacher. The media is a teacher, and it's responsible for its part of things. And it's very confusing when you're telling, let's say, men in society to look at Britney Spears back in the late 90s, to look at Britney Spears dressed like a high school Catholic girl, talking about, oops, I did it again, or whatever the song is.
Yeah, that was it.
With her legs showing, or and then telling them, hey, that's bad.
Right.
Don't like that.
Right.
And then you tell them, look at this. And you tell them, hey, that's bad. Don't like that. And then you present it this way over and over again, that kind of thing. I don't know where I'm going with all that, but it's just a
It starts to warp your idea.
It's a contradiction of what it is. And everybody who knows, everybody has fetishes, and I don't know how they happen and how they get there. If people have ideas of theories about this or that. Who knows? Nobody knows. It's like, so,
but my theory is the more civilized that we think that we are, I think the more we got unhealthy, imbalanced stuff going on, that kind of loses the whole purpose.
Yeah, our culture is like really, really high in mental illness. Real high. It's like maybe more than any other culture ever. And you could see it in our food, and you could see it on the way we treat each other. And our culture is essentially based on tricking each other into you giving us this invented currency that we invented, that we made. And that's what it's based on. It's based off of hoarding information and me keeping information from you. And essentially it's deceptive, not necessarily in a nefarious way, but it's deceptive for me to buy something that actually costs 20 cents and then sell it to you for $2.50. And that's smart here.
Yeah.
What's so smart about that?
Yeah.
And
that's actually a good segue into this idea of marriage, for instance. Have you noticed, here's something I've discovered, is in terms of relationships with that kind of idea, is I've found something very magical about the 2-year point of knowing somebody. Every single person, anytime, like that 2-year point, it's like, now I really know who this person is. There are all of the masks that they put on, to hide things or to warp, what they want to make you think that they are. They come off like you can't hold it up any longer.
Yeah.
There's something about 2 years I found.
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something that's awesome about me. Let me tell you what's awesome about me. Because there's not that many things. And when there
that is ego.
And when there's something you should tell people is that, like, the way that you know me right now, like if you lived with me for 2 years, you'd be like, holy shit, he's the same person that I met. Like you can ask Patricia. It's like, I mean, I'm sure I guess you learn more things. You learn more things about the person.
Yeah.
Like, he likes to try to stay up late, but he can't, or, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Or he gets up really fast in the morning, or things like that.
But there are some things that are still a mystery, like your personal hygiene habits, what you eat, what you do is your idea of relaxation, how you look at work. Like all that stuff you don't know until you live with somebody.
What's the most important thing about like the bathroom, like the personal hygiene habits, you're talking about like how you put the toilet paper, or like do you ball it up, or like do you fold it?
See, this is how I know that I'm a high-strung person. I'm hard to deal with because I like to have my toilet paper come with the paper coming over the top.
Yeah.
And
Me too, but I
anytime
don't
I'm
really
in
care.
someone's bathroom, like at friends, and I see that it's another way, I go and take it out, flip it over. I mean, I'm like obsessed with little things like that.
You never go back there.
Yes,
When
I do.
I see it
just
like that,
change
I
it
never
around.
go
I
back
make it
there.
better. I make the world better. But you know that I know that those little things are there about me. And whenever you meet me outside, like at a Zumba class, it's easy for you to just fall. Oh, Gabie, you're so fun. Well, no, well, really, you know.
No, you don't know how obsessive I am about toilet paper.
Exactly. And so, you know, you meet someone under those conditions and then they wonder. I remember there was one friend of mine who had told me, you know, the only thing she'd ever known about me was what we do in these aerobic classes, these dance classes together. And so she invited me to go out with her, you know, let's go to the salsa club downtown. And I was like, all right, we'll go. And we went, and she was really shocked that I just sat and chatted. Well, you know, aren't you going to go pick up on that guy over there? Why would I do that? Because she thought because we dance, you know, we do our little things with our hips, she just assumed that I would be like a total like out for guys kind of girl. Same thing with like the whole partying thing, you know, because we're out dancing together and we're laughing and there's this joyful experience. They think that, you know, I'm going to be dancing all night long when the reality is like midnight and I'm really tired.
Yeah.
Are you guys done? Because I'm ready to go. So people assume a lot because of the context that they see you in, you know?
Yeah.
And that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and you can't help it. You can't help what people assume because of the context that they see you in, and you have to work the context. Like if you're walking through a bad neighborhood, you don't want to be dressed like somebody who could get mugged easily. You want to look like a cholo if you're a Chicano. You want to look like a cholo, like, hey, I probably got a blade, Holmes. You know, you don't want to like be walking through there with your butt all tight, like, "Hey, how's it
With
going,
your polo
Charlie?"
style shirt
Yeah,
in pink.
no, you can't do it. So what do you think about marriage then? Marriage is your concepts about marriage, or Osho's concepts about marriage, if you want to talk about those.
And, you know, we're talking about working theories. Here's my working theory. Okay. And I know everybody will disagree, but it doesn't really matter because this is my working theory for my life. Is marriage has a purpose whenever you're trying to protect a family. You know, I've been married before, and I believe that it was important for the goal of having children, having family. And, you know, my son and I have had like really good discussions about this because he's always asked me, you know, his dad's about to get married here next week. And he asked me, you know, like, why do people get married? And I asked, well, so what does your dad say? And he was like, well, he says it's cheaper on your taxes if you just get married. And I was like, oh, that's so romantic. But he asked me what my theory was. And I was like, no, mine is probably not as romantic either. I said, it's an insurance policy for women. So that if the man leaves, then he's got to leave behind continued support for the children.
Yeah.
And, you know, like I'm grateful that I saw marriage that way, because then when it didn't work out, I still have, you know, this. I mean, luckily he's a wonderful father anyway. But in case he hadn't been, to know that there is like a responsibility there to help me take care of my kids.
Yeah.
I think that's what marriage is for.
Yeah. So my wife Patricia told me that she doesn't see the point when couples are married and they plan on never having kids. Like, what's the point?
Yeah. And here's another thing too, is that marriage is also about like a working partnership. So like how you have a business partnership, it's kind of like a business home partnership. People who are good at getting stuff done together, people who have mutual projects.
You know what freaks me out is when people have been married for like 30 years and then they get divorced.
That doesn't freak me out at all.
They're like 59.
But that doesn't freak me out at all. First of all, like you know, when I got married the day.
You know what happened to Jack Kornfeld? You know who that Jack Kornfeld is? It happened to him. Him and his wife got divorced.
Because like here's one reason why. And the first
Kornfeld
thing
is
I would
a
ask is when he got married.
Guru, quote unquote, in air
when he
quotes.
got married is when I would what I would ask. Because I got married the day after I turned 19.
12.
Because someone found young girls attractive.
Yeah.
But so like my knowledge of myself, first of all, and then the world, my politics, all that stuff, like it's going to be very underdeveloped. So it would make sense
Keep it that way.
It would make sense that whenever I turned 27, that I would feel like it's time for me to split from this relationship because I didn't know who I was when I married you, and I decided that the way you see the world is not how I see the world. So it's time for a break. I mean, that I think that's why that stuff happens. If you get married, especially if you're one of the baby boomers, if you get married with this whole, especially as a woman, with this idea that, I have to support my husband, I have to be his rock, and I have to do this and that to back up this family. And then all of a sudden you have these experiences. You hear these people express these opinions about things, you see other people in their relationships, you see how your partner treats you. And then suddenly you're like, I don't need this anymore. It's more work to keep up the warped
there's a lot of negative
go.
qualities in that scenario, though, right? In that relationship, right?
And so maybe the person will be 50 and be like, you know what? I'm not happy anymore.
What does the person want to do? Like, what do they want to do? Like, where are they going to go? Like, what are they?
They might just want space, freedom, Like, even though now, like, I have someone to love, I could love him forever, but I want my own house. I want my own ability to come and go.
I'm a little bit reluctant to talk about this, but because it's not me.
Okay.
Because it's not about me. And, but I know someone who has been married for like 15 years, I think, to each other. They're not going to have kids. They don't want to have kids. And then they recently got divorced, I think. Or they broke up, but his wife started seeing somebody else while they were together and while he was at work, and apparently their relationship, like sexually, was healthy and whatnot. And then he said, "What's going on?" He said he wanted to work it out. They'll go to therapy. He's like, "Whatever, it's cool." And she said, "I just don't want to be married anymore." And they seem to get along great. They have similar interests. They're both academics. Like, they both like to drink moderately. They both they're intellectual. They're artistic. And yeah, she just said, "I just don't want to be married anymore." And she took off with this dude. So that kind of situation. Why am I talking about that? Because
like, what is marriage for? What or how can you explain someone who's been
like
together?
There's that kind of a situation, and then there's like so many other kinds of situations why people break up. So I don't know. Like, it's hard to say. I guess I'm battling the thing that I said myself, was that it's hard to not take things in an individual case by case basis.
Yeah, you can't generalize.
When it comes to
why people decide to not be together anymore, you can't say it's because of one thing, So that
was my question to you. Do you think that you can generalize to a degree? Like, do you think that you can be like, oh, well, people aren't happy because 30 years?
Yeah, I don't think you can put it to one thing. And even like people who say have affairs, for instance, in my situation, that wasn't what ended the marriage. It was the other things that were going wrong, and that was just kind of like my excuse to say, what, I don't want to be married to you anymore.
Yeah.
It made it acceptable reason to leave, because it wouldn't be good enough for me to just say, I'm just not feeling this anymore. Just like whenever I want to be by
husband?
He was 4 years older than me.
Okay. So
he's almost
both
50
of you
now.
were young and dumb.
We were both, yeah. Yeah.
So 19 is very early.
Yeah, it is. And something really creepy? Here's something really creepy, okay? And this tells you about what our culture, how they see marriage. I had only known him for 3 weeks from our first date, and he proposed to me. And 4 months later, we got married. And my dad was absolutely thrilled.
What?
He was absolutely
Where were you? Guatemala?
thrilled. Well, and that actually might be why he was thrilled, because in his mind, thank God she's a virgin and she's getting married. I'm not going to have to deal with all the other drama that might come if she makes some mistake, And from my perception, I believe that their family was ecstatic because I was a nice person. I was family oriented.
Your daddy had some money.
Teacher. And the final thing is that we both belong to the same church. So, on the surface, things look like it's destined for greatness.
So when did you guys defect from Scientology?
You know, it was seeing them. It was seeing how that organization responded to a conflict or something that was against their precepts. How do they respond to it? You know, and I think he and I were both very disappointed to how they took care of the problem. You know, just to
when
put my
divorce
tea up.
came. When divorce came.
No.
Oh, I see. Okay. So,
But just seeing how they take care of things when they go wrong reveals what that organization is about. The same thing with relationships.
You're talking about Scientology or Catholicism?
No. I thought you meant Scientology, like as the placeholder for a religious organization.
I did, but I just wanted to make sure you weren't talking about Scientology.
I was just playing with your.
I didn't know you were
playing with your symbol. But I mean, it's the same thing with relationships, right? That's when you really know, can I live with this person? Can I marry this person? You have to wait until something goes wrong. And then when you see how they resolve stuff, then you're like, all right, now I really have some information to be able to make a good decision. I didn't have that decision after 3 weeks of knowing somebody.
Yeah.
And that was stupid of me.
I don't think that. I think you can make that decision. I think like we're saying, it's all a case by case basis. I think that somebody can meet and then get married and then be married for the rest of their life after knowing each other for 48 hours. It's unlikely, but apparently so is other kinds of marriage unlikely because their divorce rate is so high.
Yeah.
You know. So what do you think about how people are meeting today? They're meeting it through the internet. And
an app that you can swipe right or left.
Or an app, but the love story becomes like, I remember when I saw your comment on the post of my friend Jerry's tacos. You were so funny. I walked into I was just sitting there on my computer, but I walked into the thread and I saw you there and I was going through your pictures and I was like, And I was looking at your pictures and going through your pictures, and I realized who you were in my life. I mean, that's what it's going to be like. And then so we met.
Yeah. Well, that's actually how I met Willie. You know, I met him online.
Yeah, there's nothing to be ashamed of with that, of course. But I'm saying, but just the change of it's sad. It's sad. It's sad because it's the internet right now. The way that it is right now is involved in everybody's life all the time, and that's how it's not in mine anymore because I got rid of it 4 months ago. But now it's like it's common, very very common to everybody's looks each other up. I got tired of doing that shit like 2 years ago. I don't care.
You know what I still think though, I think the reason why I still had hope, I had probably been dating like online for like 4 years, I would say. And one of the things that I truly believed in and still believe in to this day, that whatever vibrational frequency you're resonating at, that's what you're going to attract, And so that's why I've always been really excited about what I would attract, Yeah. And so I don't think it's awkward. It's kind of, I think it's more socially acceptable now. People used to be kind of embarrassed to say that they met someone online. Yeah. And it kind of feels a little sterile as far as how you meet. There's no romantic story necessarily.
That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about.
But I still like, and maybe this too, like much of the intellectual in me, I still am romanced intellectually by the idea that who you are sends out this vibrational whatever, and you pull in someone that's at that same vibrational whatever. So all the people that I've ever dated have always resolved some little inner emotional project. And it's like I can say this person, they helped me see this resolved that issue. This person helped me, see this other avenue that I would have never considered otherwise. That's what happened for me. So
marriage, like, what do you think? You agree with it or not? Or you think that Osho's ideas of marriage?
I think that marriage is right now, as a woman, my working theory is that it is good to preserve my family and to know that my family is going to be taken care of by two people, because I don't believe that one person can do financially by him
you know
or
what my
herself.
view of marriage is?
I'm
is
interested
like
in
when there's no marriage. My view of marriage is you're married when you have a baby together with somebody, because that person is never getting out of your life ever
Right,
again.
right. Believe me, I know.
There's your wedding ring right there.
Believe me, I
it's
know.
running around, driving your car.
Yeah,
It's like,
right.
Or
Right.
destroying or writing on your walls.
Because then those kids,
Breaking
even if
your
you're
shit.
not together anymore, you're going to be seeing each other at
Yeah.
graduations.
Yeah, you're married.
You're going to be
just
seeing
married
each
to that
other.
person.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah,
true.
everything else could be negated. Paperwork, just take it away and never see you again. Oh, I haven't seen him in years, you know. And
I like that idea. But see, here's the thing that's pretty scary is, and maybe men feel this way too, but for me, that because I'm the one carrying the child and I'm the one who has, you know, more visual connections to that child. How do I know if you're just going to take off, you know, out of I decided I don't love you anymore and I love her instead. You know, I need to know that your little, you know, personal journey is not going to affect my kids. So I think that because you have these legal things, you know, stipulations that say you got to stay behind now, at least with your money.
yeah, well, I mean, no, that makes
works for
sense.
me.
But I think that, like, for example, let's say something happened between Patricia and myself. I wouldn't see any other way. Like, I would just be like, oh, I need to take care of the kids too.
But not all men are like you.
But I'm saying it's not that they're men like me. It's that they need to like wise up. Their morals, or they had a bad father or something, or no father, or a bad mother, or like they didn't teach them about the values, or they're not caring enough, you know, about that, you know. So that's
what marriage is for. And I like your idea of it too, but that's also assuming that, you know, you didn't make a baby with someone you met just the night before, you know?
Yeah.
That's the big assumption there, and that's why that makes sense. You know, that you are consciously choosing. I choose
So
you.
here's ideas about love. I read a list. I don't know how I feel about this, but I read a list about love and our ideas and our concepts of love in our society. We always have to remind us of that when it comes to things like this. Is that love at first sight exists? That things like that. It was a list of like myths, is what they called them in our society. And if you don't have that, then everything else less than that. Everything else is less than that.
Are you talking about that love at first sight idea, or just all of the things I mentioned?
Love at first sight, man. I wish I can pull up the list, but I don't even know what to search for right now.
I guess you'd have to kind of
But
define what love meant to say love at first sight.
Like love at first sight, like the way, and then like what movies of media has taught us is that is the ultimate and ideal way to fall in love with someone. Oh, I saw the person there, I saw her there, and I just knew that person was going to be my wife. And anything less than that, meeting somebody online or being set up by a friend or gradually liking each other over time, is less than that love at first sight.
I didn't get that love at first sight feeling. With Willie, I didn't get that.
But I'm saying we have these concepts about
that it has to be a condition
about love that they're impossible to meet.
Yeah.
Because of movies.
Yeah.
Because you watch a movie and they meet in the bathroom and they kiss and they fall in love and it's passionate and it's great and it works out the whole time, and the whole time it's awesome. You know?
Yeah.
And
that doesn't help.
No, it does not. It does not. So,
and that sets, in my opinion, that sets up men for greater struggle than women.
You know, when we were talking about towards the beginning of the podcast, when we were talking about sexuality and sex, what messed sex up for me, if people want to look at it that way, which or made it great, was when I lost my virginity to a girl that I loved, and she loves me, and that's the kind of introduction that I had to sex, and it wasn't like something that I was trying to impress my friends with, or something like that.
Or a curiosity.
Or something that I was trying to collect. You know, and I don't even remember the sexual energy about it. I remember the feeling of love and the intensity of that. And then what the hell is going to compare with that?
Yeah.
So because I tried being other ways, I tried being promiscuous, and it was empty, and it always just left me feeling empty. Like, it was just the weirdest thing. And I talked to my guy friends about it. I was a lot younger than I'm talking about. So my friends were stupider. So, but they were collecting females, like in a book. Like, I've been with this one. Yeah, I did that. Like, if it was an acquisition.
That's like male mentality, is this accomplishment and progress.
Yeah. But I didn't see my friends being any happier, like the way that they were being. I didn't see them being any happier. For example, like with drugs, for like say weed, I think people should smoke weed if they want to, but I don't smoke it. And I listen to podcasts and listen to people who smoke weed, and they don't say anything that different from me. Like, it's not bringing such another dimension into the world that I can't even understand what they're talking about. And I think similar things, but holy crap, what was I talking about?
Because that's not the only avenue to enlightenment.
Yeah, but I'm saying what I was saying right before that was that, oh shit, I forgot.
Man, we're both like this.
No, yeah. So
where was I going with that?
So so my friends collecting the women, like,
you were trying to get some good advice.
Acquisition. So I would talk to my friends about this empty feeling about when being promiscuous, and they're like, "What are you talking about? Like, what are you talking about?" And they just didn't pay attention to it. But as like the internet got more popular, I could go online and read other people's accounts of this feeling, men and women. It was so common that this is empty, like used up kind of a feeling, because you were actually just masturbating just with somebody into somebody else.
Yeah. I never looked at it that way.
You know what I mean? It's like it's kind of gross, right? Like, but so that set me off on a course to how I actively like live my life of sexuality, or my perspective of, or my goal, or my measuring stick.
Did you say, here's my curiosity, is that whenever everyone has that promiscuous phase where it's that experiment, and they either think that that's reality or they stop and reflect on how they feel beforehand. Did you find that you kind of had what would you say? You fell back into it? Or do you feel like in that moment you were just constantly developing a more balanced idea?
It's really messy because, okay, if we're people who believe that people carry an energy with them, if we can talk about that, if you want to talk about, if we talk on that level, there's a whole other dimension to talk about. If we leave that out, it's much simpler. Okay. But I think that people carry an energy with them. And I think that to a degree, you can ignore it. You can not pay attention to how it's affecting your life. But the whole of a person is there. You're at their house or you're in their house, and you pick up their smells, and you pick up everything about them, and you exchange bodily fluids. And that person has their baggage with them, and they give it to you, and you give yours to them. And
did you know that early on?
Yeah, pretty early on, and then they fall in love with you, or you fall in love with them, or it gets complicated, or it's not the same. You guys are not seeing eye to eye on the frivolousness of this. And it's frivolous to one, but it's not frivolous to the other. And then people's emotions are involved, and it gets very complicated. So it's not cut and dry. Like if somebody's married and they have an idea, like if a man is married and they have an idea, oh man, I wish I just could be single for a year and I just fuck a bunch of bitches, and then you think that it's going to be like cut and dry like that, like in your fantasy, right? But no, this bitch is going to be coming at your house. It's going to be like, why are you like, who is this other chick? And then the other chick won't care because she's a hoe, whatever. And then, but it'll be all kinds of people. And then in a month, you'll be exhausted and you'll be like, holy shit, it's way better being married.
Yeah. I think that's why people get married.
Yeah, there's a really good saying. It's the grass is always greener on the other side because it's fertilized with bullshit. It's true.
Yeah.
Like that part at the end is important to add it in there. The grass is always greener on the other side because it's fertilized with bullshit.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah.
So
I'm pretty impressed that you had this coming of age thing really early on in terms of sexuality. Because a lot of people, they spend all their college years just kind of messing around.
I was so romantic. I didn't want to have sex with anybody. I didn't want to have sex with any woman and I wasn't in love with her. It was just like useless. It was like pointless. I was like, sex is weak. It's like
by itself, it is kind of like
yeah, it's weak. It's like, okay, if you do it for long enough, you start thinking that it's kind of silly. You're like, okay,
yeah.
I've been moving like this for a while now. Feels kind of weird,
Yeah, especially if it's a quick process, even less,
So, yeah.
That's nice that you did that. But like for me, I'm a quick learner.
I'm so embarrassed with myself
my
right
phase
now.
was very, it was resolved very quickly, and I moved up in the quality of relationship.
So,
but marriage for me is not.
What has Osho taught you about relationships? Like what's the main thing that you learned from him?
The main thing that I learned is the difference between doing your duty and doing what makes you come alive or who.
Okay. That's good.
And I mean, there's a lot, but that's one of the big things. And the second thing is to not feel guilty because you have this certain path that you want to take that makes you feel, like you're living your purpose, And that just because, you being married to someone doesn't have to be like one of those things that you got to do before you can go move on, and that love is really about presence, awareness. It's not about flowers on Valentine's Day, there's too many to even mention, but that was like the big thing for me. And as well as, just this whole idea of the things that are eating at you, nagging away at you are reflected in the behavior obsessions that are shown on the outside, So whether it be about, cigarette smoking or sex or, I don't know, Burger King Whoppers, that reveals a lot.
You're making me hungry.
When was the last time you had a hamburger like that?
A Whopper? It's been like years.
I know.
But I remember, funny. I think Burger King was one of my favorites. I'm going to totally negate all the deep stuff you said about Osho, and I'm going to focus on the Whopper.
Because there's nothing more pleasurable.
Everything else's ass.
Yeah.
People think that horniness kicks everything else's ass. Hunger is hunger. Hunger will drive you to do amazing things. But
and speaking of hunger, like that whole like the intimate experience you have with someone that's like you don't have to be like hanging from the ceiling and doing crazy stuff to have this rewarding experience. It's.
Are you talking about like in Thailand?
I don't want to talk about.
I'll tell you about this story about Thailand. Oh. Not that I went there. Somebody that I know went there. But so the things that
like it's not about wildest, broadest, longest experience.
Yeah, that has to do with the dynamics of growing up in a capitalist society that commercializes everything and has to turn everything into a product so you can get as many.
Get your next.
Everybody's going to have an iPhone.
Yeah.
Everybody's going to everybody's going to think different.
So they're always going to be disappointed with sex if they expect it to be that way.
Yeah, it's just like I personally think that people maybe they already are, But people, we need to chill out with the importance of sex in our society. It's important. It's important. But come on, like just kick back. It's like there's more to do in the world. Like, for example, what's happening in the Middle East, it's important. But just kick back. Like, that's not the whole world. Like, stop talking about it so much. It's like, let's talk about other things, you know.
Yoga is one of those big examples where, you know, stop trying to, you know, put your work on bringing your head behind, you know, your in front of your leg and, you know, wrapping yourself up around and what can you hold up on two arms? You know, like, can you really say you do those things and have accomplished this state of yoga?
Yeah, this mentality has I've had a couple of manifestations of titling it. I used to call it the measuring culture, and then now I call it the acquisition culture, and now I call it the acquisition mind, and then related to that is something that I call the cyclic oligopoly complex. You know, and but it's all has to do with acquisition, and that's it. Either high to low, or depth, or width, or amount. You know, it's an acquisition mind. It's like,
and if you look at,
I can't tell you how liberating it is to just not give a fuck about acquiring anything and being happy with what you have. And what I mean by that is by knowing what you can do with what you have available to you, right with you. You know, and because you will realize, like, if I ask myself, all right, Goliath, what's the obstacle you have for something you're trying to achieve, some artistic endeavor you're trying to achieve? Okay, well, it'd be nice if I had a producer, but he costs like $25,000 a song. I don't have that. Okay, so if you had $1 million, what would you do? Well, I would do this, and I would do that, and I would do this. Oh, you can do those things without that money, can't you? Oh, yes, you can. And then maybe later on you can get with that producer. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I mean about being whatever the fuck I said. about being appreciative in, what did I say? In the now.
Well, the way I'm understanding is that you it's that whole be the change that you wish to see, you know? No. I mean, it's not like, I'm not crazy about that quote. You know that? Well, I interpret it differently. I'm looking at it as be the vibration of what you want, versus, you know, thinking that wanting and working hard enough is going to do it for you. Yeah, that's closer. But be the change you want to see. It seems too much like some like government propaganda, like trying to blame your ass for the fact that you're starving. And that you need some help. And then you need some food, so you need to get unhungry right now. You just need to make yourself unhungry. It's like related to The Secret situation. Oh my God, that was so comical to me from the day one. I was like, you know, at first I saw the cover. I'm like, oh, maybe this is interesting. And I was like, oh my God, this is such bullshit. But see, that was kind of like the sexy seller that had to be there so that people would look at it. Because you have the similar DVD called What the Bleep Do We Know? Yeah, that's pretty good. That essentially has the same spirit of The Secret. But, you know, it wasn't sexy, you know, if you want money, you'll get it type of thing. And so no one saw that one as much as they did The Secret. So Osho, he taught you about this too then, about it's not the volume and the whatnot. Right. You know, yeah, because he's very, man, he's such an interesting person, you know, and even his ability to sit for like 2 hours and not have to uncross his legs, you know, readjust his seat. Yeah. I find that just, he's fascinating. Yeah. He's very fascinating. That's a good word for it. And he's been fascinating since he was a child, you know. So is there anything else that you'd like to talk about? Love, relationships, Valentine's Day? I could talk forever. Commitment, relationships. And we talked about Osho. So I guess we should stop. Yeah. And what's your Valentine's Day present to the viewership and listening audience over here? My Valentine's present to everybody? Not that the wisdom that we've Here's one little piece of wisdom, enough. And I know this is probably going to add another hour discussion, so be careful. One of the things that I've learned is that there is a statement that is prevalent in the world that if you can't love me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. And I think that that is the most dangerous philosophy to live under. Because truly you need to be living at your best to deserve the best from people. Otherwise, it's a pretty selfish kind of love that you're expecting everyone to live under.
Yeah.
So
what have you running into people that people are most hurting about?
I think it's other people's job to make them happy. I think that's the biggest
But
suffering.
why do you think it's like that? Like, why is it like that? That it's other people's jobs?
I think I think it goes down to just like our parenting, you know, like we want to make our parents happy with the grades that we get. You know, we want to behave to make them happy. And so we end up going into these relationships that are basically, you know, another layer of marrying mom or, you know, loving dad.
Yeah. Which isn't bad if your mom is a good cook.
Exactly. But, you know, I think it starts from your parents, that whole idea that you have to perform for me. You know, you have to get into a good college and have a good job. So it makes me look like I'm a good parent and that I didn't fail. Yeah. Well, so now, you know, you put that on your spouse. You know,
wow,
you got to do
that's
this
really
for
interesting.
me to make me feel like we're in a rewarding relationship, you know? It's really about two people inspiring each other and being able to do that separately. And then coming back to share and reconvene. This is what I'm learning. What are you learning?
So people have a lot to learn about conviviendo, about living with each other,
Especially because love is not just about who you're having sex with, you know. It's about your friendships that are platonic as well. You know, are you around a community of people who you feel like you're learning from that stretch you? And that don't
but people
make
like
you feel
to post
burdened?
online. People like to post online that they are around a community of people.
Yeah, but then they unfriend them from Facebook 2 weeks later.
But then you know, but they don't talk to their neighbors. They're like community, dude, community this, community that. Like, I'm not talking to my neighbors. You know, it's so.
What
funny.
you know, it can happen.
Yeah, I don't want to. I want to leave off on what you said. It's very important. Inspiring each other is one of the biggest things that people should do in a relationship with each other. And cultivate each other's goals and positive qualities and help each other figure each other out.
Right. And it's my opinion that as long as we have a day like Valentine's Day, that means we haven't figured it out yet. And we need a day to like go back and remember.
Come on, let's go burn some hearts. Come on, let's get out of here.
All right. Happy Valentine's Day.